Greetings Twitter, greetings X. I wanted to go live tonight and I wanted to touch base on what had been going on. As you all are probably aware, the Texas Supreme Court issued, their ruling on the Cox versus Texas abortion case, and they ruled against Kate Cox, unfortunately. In the ruling, they basically, between what they said and what they affirmed basically what Ken Paxton said in the appeal as to what the medical exception is for the abortion laws here in Texas. Basically, it is a very, very narrow, if I can use the word loosely, medical exception. Basically, what the Supreme Court affirmed and what was the fact that unless the pregnant woman was at the point of risking death, doctors cannot single-mindedly, in good faith or in good judgment, do an abortion procedure without violating the law. Sounds utterly ridiculous in my opinion, but that's what they said. Now, the question I guess now to ask is whether or not the narrowness of this medical exception violates any federal law or any federal constitutional violation because of the fact that it is so narrowly written that it does risk the life of a woman, and I think that would fall under a constitutional rights violation, not because we're talking about the right of abortion or not. It's the right that I'm talking about is the right for a woman to be secure in herself, to be able to obtain medical treatment. That's not what's happened in this case, obviously, and I think that there may be somewhere in there a legitimate legal argument. Now, I'm no lawyer, I'm no attorney, I don't know the specifics, and I don't know the logistics of how that would work out, but I think that it would be worth the time of maybe an agency like Center for Reproductive Rights, the agency or the organization that was taking the lawsuit for Ms. Kate Cox. Maybe something that one of their attorneys could look into. And see if it's a possibility that there was a constitutional rights violation against Ms. Cox or against any of the other ladies in the other lawsuit. It was Zawarski versus Texas. I would think that maybe even the federal government would be able to launch a lawsuit against the state because the medical exception is too narrow and it endangers the lives of women that have certain medical necessities during their pregnancies. That's a possibility. I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. If somebody picks up on that type of a lawsuit, we need to wait and see what is going to happen with this current lawsuit of Kate Cox. From what I understand, she went out of state to get her abortion. Question is she coming back to Texas? If not, what's gonna happen going forward with that lawsuit? Is she going to drop the lawsuit? Is she going to continue to fight? I don't know. Now here's another thing. Would Ms. Cox have a valid lawsuit against the state for? Not even her. Maybe in other pregnant mothers, would they have a lawsuit against the state, such as Ms. Zawarski, to sue for damages as a result of the narrowness and the confusion of this lawsuit that, these laws that were written. Another thing that really got me today was I read on social media that my senators from the state of Texas, when they were approached with the question about what their opinion was with this ruling, they were mum. They shut up. They dodged it. That's uncalled for, in my opinion. If you're a duly elected official of the state of Texas, and you're asked those questions, you need to answer them. I don't care who you are. Ted Cruz, John Cornyn, they didn't have the testicular fortitude to respond. They didn't have the balls. They didn't have the gumption. Cornyn said that he wasn't going to talk about anything that had to deal with states' arguments or states' laws or state, which is what he said. Cruz, on the other hand, said, well, talk to my press office. Dude, the reporter's asking you, not your press office, Mr. Cruz. I mean, it's obvious you both of you are blatant cowards for not answering the media those questions. I challenge you to answer those questions. I challenge you to go public and confront the issue if you're man enough to do it. That's basically it. You don't have the manhood to approach and answer those questions to the public. Why? Because you know that you're going to get a lot of backlash, more than likely. But I think that if you're approached with those questions, I don't know. Suffice it to say, they were mum. They didn't say anything. Another person who has been silent this whole time, and I don't understand for the life of me why, is the Attorney General of the state of Texas, King Paxton. He did not address the public at all during the course of Cox versus Texas. I don't know who the hell he thinks he is. He's not a man, because if he was a man, he would have manned up and he would have addressed the public. News medias were asking for his comments. He gave none, obviously because he doesn't have the testicular fortitude to do so. I issued a challenge the other day. I said, Mr. Paxton, you man up and address the public. Explain yourself. Texans demand to know. Now, he's been mum. He refuses to comment publicly about the lawsuit. His Twitter feeds, both personal and government, there's no talk about abortion. Matter of fact, he went 2 or 3 days without posting. Why? Because he knows that the moment he does, he's going to get backlash. And he's scared as hell, literally scared as hell, to answer the public with respect to the Cox case. He's not man enough. To say he's a coward is, I think, an understatement. He's our Attorney General, and he doesn't have the balls to respond. And I will continue to challenge him to go before the public and address his take and his actions. That's the bottom line. And another one who's been mum, hasn't said anything, but I don't expect him to talk about it, is the governor. Because he has technically, other than signing the dang bills and law, he doesn't have anything to do with this. This is strictly Paxton himself directly, and our U.S. senators who, when questioned about it, cowardly kept silent and cowardly dodged the questions. That's the type of senators we have in Texas. Senators who are scared to answer the hard questions with respect to their states. I would not be surprised when everything is said and done in November of next year in the election, that a lot of Republicans, a lot of conservatives in Texas will get voted out of office because of what happened with Cox. Women have been pissed off because of the Supreme Court ruling. Another thing about the ruling, and I think I want to say I question its validity, and that is because one of the judges who ruled or issued his concurring opinion was Justice Devine. He has a history of being an anti-abortion activist, and as such, he should have been recused from this case. He didn't. This hurt Miss Cox's case, because when you have a biased judge And he says, well, my past history doesn't influence how I decide a case. It's not whether or not your history influences a case, Mr. Divine. The fact of the matter is you have a history, and it complicates or it creates controversy when you're dealing with a case when everybody knows that in the past you've had a history with it. And to be ethically correct, you should have recused yourself to begin with because of that, regardless of whether it was how far in the past, regardless of whether or not you still have that bias today. It was your responsibility to recuse yourself simply because of your past history. I don't know if that would have made any difference in the ruling, but it would have completely untainted the ruling, because the ruling that came out of the Supreme Court because of Mr. Divine in the public eye will be considered tainted, and there's not thing one you can do about it unless you rehear the lawsuit or you rehear the case and reverse your ruling, or you affirm it and you without Justice Divine in the present. That's the bottom line. You put a tainted judge to rule on a case like this, and obviously the credibility of the Supreme Court suffers as a result. The Texas Supreme Court, mind you. Well, that's it for this topic. I will come back online momentarily, hopefully, to talk about another topic, one that I've been commenting on social media this afternoon, and I really want to get to that. So I'm going to break for just a couple of minutes, and then I will come back online to talk about something else, which is the Biden impeachment vote that happened today. You don't want to miss it. I'll be right back.